Afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Real Talks. And I'm here with my co-host, Kyle. How we doing, Kyle? How was your weekend?
Great. It's really stormy out here. There's a hurricane coming, but hanging in there.
There you go. And that's the important thing. So we got a lot to get to this afternoon, tonight, depending on where you are in the country. Couple things that happened this weekend, one thing that happened today, and something else that could possibly happen in the future. So let's just jump right on it. So if anybody is a gamer and anybody that knows video games, there was a little game that originally came out in 2013, and it was called The Last of Us, and it was by Naughty Dog. And this game, I played this game, I beat this game, it's amazing. And then a couple of years later, Neil Druckmann, who's the studio head in Naughty Dog, came out with The Last of Us 2. And it just won Game of the Year, won all these awards. So, today, and they had been wanting to develop this into a show for a while. Today, HBO just came out with a teaser trailer. And I'm not going to fanboy here, but oh my God. It was unbelievable. And you can go on the internet and find it and everything else. But first of all, are you a gamer? I think we talked about this briefly.
Yeah, I have played The Last of Us. The Last of Us is a great game. I've also played The Last of Us Part 2, which is also just as good as the first one. If not, I would even argue The Last of Us 2 is better than The Last of Us, because I think the thing with the video game, The Last of Us, the first game, is kind of a generic video game. I mean, it has a great story, but the way you play the game, it feels a little bit like it doesn't, I think, do as much to advance the gaming genre. But then you play Last of Us 2, and even like the way that you're playing, what's really interesting is that you are playing as a female character, and there's a whole thing in video games where female characters in video games are never really well utilized, and they do a great job with representation in Last of Us Part 2. I will say, though, that the trailer for The Last of Us, I have to agree with you, David. It was so good, and I think what really struck me is there's one scene in the trailer where Ellie, I forgot the name of the actress that plays her.
Bella Ramsey.
Okay, thank you.
She's actually, so to hold off real quick, so that's a perfect segue. So Pedro Pascal from The Mandalorian and Bella Ramsey from Game of Thrones, who, by the way, when she was an amazing, I mean, she's an amazing actress. To hold that kind of a stature and in that kind of a show, in a worldwide phenomenon like that. And there's a reason why they went out and they got her for this. So, continue.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
No, Bella is a great actress, and I think there's this one scene that really struck me, and it's her and this other actress, Storm Reed, who she was in Euphoria. She was also in The Suicide Squad, and her, I think, the biggest role she was in was the film A Wrinkle in Time, which wasn't the best success in the world, but she's a fabulous actress, and I'm not too familiar with it because it is like a DLC, but there's a storyline in The Last of Us that they kind of did like an expansion pack, and it was like what happened to Ellie before the game starts, and you see her befriend this other girl. And
okay, so to your point, so there's a scene in the game when Joel and Ellie are starting to get to know each other, and actually this is the DLC you're referring to, and so Ellie is talking to Joel about how she was her one only friend, and she didn't have a lot of people around her growing up and everything else. So Yeah, so the scene that you're referring to is to
And
that. But
it's nice to see that in the show, because it does show you the show is including all of the storylines from The Last of Us. So it's not just telling its own story, and it's really going to delve deep into the storyline. But then, like in the trailer, you get to see the clickers, you get to see the real, shots from the
they brought all the stops out here.
yeah.
And this was just so we had, in one of the quick shots was, right in the beginning of the game. So let me backtrack a little bit. Anybody who hasn't played or seen The Last of Us, it is a story. It is a video game by Naughty Dog, as I've made mention, that is about a post-apocalyptic world. And so Ellie, who is our female protagonist, is a very special girl. So there are these zombies. It's kind of like The Walking Dead and everything else, where there are zombies, and we have these things called clickers that are hideous. But you're right, they got the sound down for it. They had these things called bloaters. They had everything. And if you get bitten, you turn into a zombie. Well, Ellie was, and this isn't a spoiler for anybody, so don't worry. Ellie actually got bit, but she didn't turn. She was the only person ever to get bit and not turn. So she became very special to the fact that, oh my God, there could be a vaccine from this. So the whole story enwraps Joel, who actually loses his daughter in the beginning of the game, okay, because they're trying to escape. And then what ends up happening is the other female protagonist and Joel have a package, or Ellie, and they have to bring her from one side of the country to Salt Lake City. And Salt Lake City is where the hospital is, and where they actually are going to try to develop this vaccine to save humanity. And so that's what it entails. And the whole first game is nothing but journeys. And it's a coming-of-age story. It's a love story. It's a redemption story. And that's what makes it so good. So one of the scenes that we see in the beginning of the trailer, or near the end of the trailer, is in the pickup truck. So in the beginning, they're trying to escape in the pickup truck, and you just see it from the rear view, and she turns her head, and there's a huge explosion. Yeah. And they're trying to get out of the city here alive. And the other shot you saw was from a scene in the middle of the game, was the tractor trailer. And it said run. Mm-hmm. And that was from one of the shots in the middle of the game, where they go to a city and they get actually, ambushed. But so it is 10 episodes, and I'm really glad that because look, I think you would agree with me, they couldn't have put this into a 2-hour, compacted this into 2 hours. It just wouldn't have worked. And I think also they couldn't have done like The Last of Us part one, and then they just couldn't have done that, because it is, how long would you say the game is? Like 10 or 12 hours?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. It's a long, long game. And it's an amazing game. So I think two things are going to happen. So, by the way, I love the theme song. Hank Williams,
I was going to mention that. Such a
unbelievable.
Great choice.
So this is actually, believe it or not, I didn't even know this. So today, according to the Last of Us community, is Outbreak Day. Who would have knew, right? But so I think this is going to do a couple of things for HBO Max. Number one, this is going to give them that brand new series that is going to be coming out next year. Because I know you just did a House of the Dragon spoiler cast on Twitter. And by the way, where can people find you on Twitter?
My Twitter handle is @ArkingKyle, capital A, RKING, capital KYLE.
Perfect. And I'm on Twitter myself, and you can follow me. It's Wannabe Rounder. That's WANNABEROUNDER. So what this does is a couple of things. Number one, it's going to give them that brand new boost that they need, right? Because House of the Dragon is going to be ending in, I think there's what now, 4 episodes? We just had that in 5th episode? Okay. Number 2, this is definitely going to give them a hell of a lot more subscribers because people are going to be itching for this. Because this is going to be kind of like that mainstay of until the next House of the Dragon season 2 comes out, this is going to tide them over. And number 3, you're going to get a lot of that younger 18 to 34 crowd on board with this. So I can't wait.
And it's a new show. Like, it's not... it is an adaptation of a known property, but I think that it will be interesting to see what this show does in like a post-Walking Dead world, because by the time the show premieres, The Walking Dead will be over. And I'm very curious to see how that does in comparison, because, I mean, we didn't talk about this, but the showrunner of the show is Craig Mazin, and he did the incredible miniseries Chernobyl. And it is...
Yes.
Have you seen it, David?
Yes. I've not, but I know of the event, and it just...
Stop what you're
it's
doing.
one of those things it's to put on the list.
Watch it on HBO Max. It is... it has you, like, from the opening minutes, and it's one of those shows that really it excels in the direction and in the writing, and to know that the guy that worked on that show is doing The Last of Us is just, so great to hear. And I think that the big question I have to ask you, though, is how do you see the show going? Because do you see them going like 5 seasons and then, adapting The Last of Us Part 2? Or do you see like it being just a 2-season show where the second season is The Last of Us Part 2?
Okay. I think that so this is 10 episodes.
Yeah.
So once again, I imagine they're going to be 1-hour episodes. So I gotta believe. So that's 10 hours of content. So there's a lot to get, deep dive and everything else. I gotta believe they're gonna go with. I think they're just gonna do a one-off. I think that they're going to. I think they're just going to do 1 season. I would be shocked and surprised if they did a second season.
Well, they haven't said it's a limited miniseries, so that's
right.
They're doing
at the same time, though. Okay, let's play this out for a minute. The pilot, you're going to introduce everybody, but let's face it, everybody knows all the characters anyways. But you still have to introduce them. If you make this a limited series, so let's say it's going to be 1 season, you then have to cut up the map and figure out, because you would agree, you just said it yourself, from the teaser, this looks very loyal to the source material.
Yes.
So that being said, I think where they put the story and where they cut off the story, I think it's going to be every chapter. So I think you're going to have them, like, when they get to, I forgot, Pittsburgh, I think that's going to be one whole episode in itself. I think the fact that, the hospital itself is going to be one whole episode. I think there's going to be several other episodes. I could see this only going 1 season. I really could. Putting everything all in for 1 season. While that's being done, okay, developing The Last of Us 2. And then, I'd be shocked if it wasn't actually being developed right now. So they have a stepping stone once this comes out, okay, that they are going to be able to just put it right into second gear and go into The Last of Us 2.
So what you're saying, though, because, like, if they adapt The Last of Us 2, that will be the second season of the show.
Correct.
So
yeah.
You're basically saying that you think that the entirety of The Last of Us Part 1 game is going to be adapted in the in this season, 10 episode season.
Yes. Yes, I do. I can't see it. I can't see it being more.
I could agree with you there.
I mean, I really
I
can't.
could agree with you there. I mean, the only thing I will say though is that, I mean, I could see them making like 3 seasons based on that one game, and then they can really delve deep into it. Or I could also see them possibly stretching it out because, not to give any spoilers away, but there is a time jump from Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2. There isn't,
True.
Last of Us Part 2 doesn't take place right after The Last of Us Part 1.
Right.
So,
I want to say it's 5 years.
So there could be like a possibility.
I think what they would do, though, to be absolutely honest with you, I think that what they would do, if they're going to do that, I think they would do like a little 5-episode, filler type of thing.
But it would.
We don't need to see the whole thing, but what happens in between. Absolutely.
Yeah, so it also depends on the success of the show, because
they have no problem with this.
Yeah,
this is going to be huge, and I don't know off the top of my head. As a matter of fact, I'm going to look because now I'm curious to see what the number of views are. But I got to imagine this is because don't forget this just dropped this morning. So okay, so I mean they have okay. So let's see if I can find the HBO channel, HBO Max channel. But let's see. So as of right now, 6 hours ago, okay. Now, mind you, this is there's 2 million views.
Okay.
And now you say, 2 million. That's a lot. That is a lot of views in 6 hours. And you got to think when these people. I mean, and now, granted, we're not accounting for multiple clicks. We're not accounting for whatever. But I will say this much: that's a lot in 6 hours. That is quite a lot. So I'm dying to see this. Are you guys video game fans? Have you seen The Last of Us trailer? Did you like it? Did you like the stars of it? What do you guys think? Leave your thoughts down in the comments below.